detoxing from social media attachment. This is a big deal today. I think people are underestimating the addictive nature of this and probably the destructive nature of it as well.
Well, oftentimes people don't realize how much time they actually spend on digital pieces of equipment. When we work with people in the clinic or in the office, specifically at the end of a genetic report, we always end with saying a positive affirmation and having a person declare life and vitality over their lives.
What is psoriasis? Psoriasis is a dysregulation in the immune cells, which causes the buildup of skin cells on the surface of the skin, which causes these plaques or patches in certain areas that can become very painful.
At least 3 times a year, we as a group, and many of you have joined us in this, we do a group detox where we utilize Kingdom Detox and give you videos and things for about 2 weeks or more to try to get you aware of the things that need to be removed from your life and not added back, and put things in that really can benefit you in your health. But did you know one of the greatest things you can practice detoxing is detoxing from social media attachment? This is a big deal today. I think people are underestimating the addictive nature of this and probably the destructive nature of it as well.
Well, oftentimes people don't realize how much time they actually spend on digital pieces of equipment, from the computer at work to the television to the iPhone. And the iPhone's kind of interesting that at the end of the week, it will tell you how much screen time that you've actually been on the phone. And in my case, I find it astonishing that I'm spending that much time there. Now, it might be listening to educational webinars, or it might be CMEs, or just different things that are you're obligated to do.
Mhm.
But if it's just time where you're, playing games or being exposed to things you don't need to be exposed to, we probably need to put some good boundaries around it. Now, what we have done in our home is that after about the 7 o'clock hour, all the digital stuff goes off, from the phones to the television to anything electronic, to the computers. We kind of set a good, healthy boundary around that as night draws near.
Yeah, and get into your phone, folks, and turn off the notifications. And you can do that because if you don't, if you got your phone connected to your watch or something like that, it's going to be going off all day long with Facebook, Instagram, X, whatever the case may be, emails. You don't want to have that, especially as it's disrupting to your day. It's disrupting to sort of concentration. So I believe we should do a total detox of notifications, because that does set a boundary in there where you have to actually check those at that point.
There is a protective screen that you can put across your computer. Instead of having to wear the glasses, the EMF glasses, you can actually have a screen protector put on your computer so your eyes are not consistently bombarded with the light sources and the EMS that are coming from that. And my personal self, I used to get headaches on a regular basis, and it's like, well, I don't have headaches. Why do I have so many headaches? It was the transition to the digital age where we went from paper charts to electronic charts, and it's hours and hours and hours of staring at this light source. And so that was the remedy for that. And sometimes I'll even wear the glasses over the top of it.
Well, I wear the glasses because I look cool in them. That's the bottom
They're
line.
kind of cool, the little orange
No,
lenses.
but that whole digital revolution has done some crazy things to us, because it's created this addictive mindset where I've seen this before. And you don't have comment on this. You go to a restaurant, and you'll be seeing people sitting there, and there's 2 people, and they're on their phones. I don't understand that. They can't be communicating with each other because they're communicating on their phones. And I've had people that have told me before, and it happened to me when I was when Kaylee, my youngest daughter, was at home, she texted me one time from the back bedroom. Well, that's not going to work. We don't
I'm
do
right
that
here.
anymore. No, we're not going to do that. So we have seen the disconnection with communication through the digital age. Not to say digital age is not good, beneficial, all of that, but we cannot forget to communicate, and we can't forget to pick up a book and read it sometimes, because again, that light you talked about is so pronounced in its strength. It's over 5,000 degrees Kelvin, which compared to the noonday sun.
And what does that mean?
Well, the noonday sun is 3,500 degrees. So if you stare at it, you're like, I can't see this, I can't see. The same effect the sun has on you is magnified at least 50% by the screen. You talk about making the eyes and head and brain hurt. That's going to do it. That's why people have headaches.
That's definitely one of the reasons. So taking screen time breaks is very important. We talk about the 20 and 2 rule, sitting for 20 minutes and then taking a break and walking for 2. It might be a good idea to put that around screen time as well. For every hour that you're staring at the screen, you may want to take a break for a couple of minutes, go get a glass of water, take a break, walk around the block, just to get a break from that digital light source.
Well, life is so electronically oriented today. Pretty much there's not many jobs out there that don't use some level of electronics anymore. So it's part of our life. We don't let it become something that runs and controls our life. We need to take the digital detox.
Yes, by implementing some of those things, it's only going to help you stay healthy physically and emotionally, and keep your eyes healthy and your brain healthy, and prevent those headaches.
No question. Here's what we're going to challenge you to do. This is a M&M without the sugar detox challenge. We're going to challenge you to take 10 minutes a day. I'm serious, 10 minutes a day to, take the complete awareness that you can get a text message and put it in the other room and sit in a separate room for 10 minutes. Just
can you
do that. I'm going to challenge you to do 10 minutes of digital detox every day. Preferably, you do that right before bed. It'll probably help your sleep, definitely help your mood, and help you break those negative addictions that can be created by the overload, overstimulus of this whole digital addiction process. So here's to your 10-minute success of the digital detox.
Is somebody causing you great depression and anxiety in your life?
If so, maybe separation is the key, or maybe changing you is the key. Find out how next.
There's a lot of talk these days about human enhancement.
Terms like biohacking, bioharmonizing, biosynergizing, stacking, resilience, and anti-fragility.
In our clinic, the Functional Medical Institute, we've been helping people of all shapes, sizes, and backgrounds improve their quality of their physiology and maximize their lives.
So, you can follow the latest fads and gimmicks and maybe find some things that work for you.
Or you can add Kingdom Fuel to your daily regimen right now.
It's the simple start to a transformed life.
Our unique meal shakes are balanced, low glycemic, rich in fiber with 20 grams of clean protein, essential vitamins and minerals, healthy fats, and organic fruits and vegetables. Kingdom Fuel is vegan with a complete amino acid profile.
No gimmicks, just proven results.
Start today at sherwood.tv/fuel.
I know you are God. I can't believe I trusted you. I'm Michele. I'd love to work here.
Do you have what it takes to be a champion?
Yes, Master, I do.
We need to get you more competition.
And
Nationals?
finally, the Olympic team selection tournament.
Did somebody try to hurt you again?
Yes. But I don't think anyone will ever believe me.
She's working on being a homeless Olympic champion, and now she has somebody footing the bill for college so she can become a doctor.
We have to pray on the list so that in all of God's glory, each item on the list will come to a fruitful and gratifying beginning.
I don't know about you, but I have to have that cup of coffee in the morning. And Kingdom Cup is mold free, it is pesticide free, and it is organic. It's got this flavor that is delicious. You don't even have to put cream or sweetener in it.
And it's Kingdom Cup with a K,
K.
right? So this is important. 50% of all coffee at least contains mold. And this is a key thing. That's in bean form, right? So you're going to be a little grinder. They're just a few bucks. Grind it up, put it in your maker, and make it. Why did we go with the bean form, the whole bean? Because ultimately the powder form is the one that gathers the most moisture. And that means the more potential mold development. So this is actually organic, mold-free, certified. It's got a little certificate with it. That's important because ultimately people drink coffee. It's cultural. And so we tried to meet the culture where it is and create a healthy alternative. Do other people drive you crazy? Do other people drive you batty? Do other people drive you into depression? Is it always somebody else's fault? Do they contribute to it? Finally, the question we ask ourselves is, could there be something that we could do about it? I think all those questions and more need to be addressed because, let's face it, depression is a big thing. The majority of doctor's office visits today have a complained symptom of depression. So as we talk about this idea of depression, sweetheart, there are people that say things like this: they make me depressed. Comment on that.
Well, first of all, it isn't somebody else that can make you feel any way. That perception or initiation of a feeling comes from inside yourself. When we work with people in the clinic or in the office, specifically at the end of a genetic report, we always end with saying a positive affirmation and having a person declare life and vitality over their lives. And what we have discovered is that the majority of people spend a lot of time in what we call stinking thinking. So if we can flip that and become a positive thinking individual, the neurochemistry in the brain and in the body changes.
Well, it really does. And you're talking about epigenetics. That's a whole science in itself. And we've looked at that from a bunch of various angles. And we know that people become like the 5 people that I hang out with the most. And so we've got to pick our friends, bad company can corrupt good morals. I mean, that's kind of how that is. And so, we've got to think about who we're hanging out with. If you can't see change in that environment, you probably need to separate yourself from that environment. That's not a bad thing.
Well, let's just take caregiving of an elderly individual who may either have cancer or is facing the end of times. A lot of times what comes from their mouths or from their actions is not always positive, and that can be a wearing thing. Well, what can we do about it? Of course, we can change our thinking, or we can perhaps maybe go out for a walk. We know that exercise is a great form of an antidepressant. Did you know that your body creates its own pharmaceuticals? And when you exercise and get blood, oxygen, and nutrients to your tissues, you in essence help your body make those neurotransmitters: dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, serotonin, which are the happy chemicals.
Yeah, like serotonin. I was reading something just recently about serotonin. Really, it's this neurotransmitter, or let's call it a neurosignaling molecule that actually helps the body be not depressed. In other words, it helps you be content, right? And it does require good nutrition to get there. We can't minimize that. People today are taking SSRIs, selective serotonin response or reuptake inhibitors. So they're trying to take what you have pharmaceutically and keep it out front. Okay, fine, good, no problem. If somebody's getting ready to jump off the cliff, do that. But what if we could understand how we create it more inside of our body? Again, 95% of that is created in and around the gut. So what if our gut health was a problem? Could that affect our ability to create that chemical? And does that affect the phenomena we call depression?
Absolutely. The majority, like you said, of serotonin is produced in the gut. And if we have a dysfunctional gut microbiome, remember we have live teeming bacteria that live in our gut. And if the population there becomes more on the quote unquote negative side, they're all excreting toxicity into the system. And we have this thing called the gut brain axis. What's produced in the gut is absorbed into the system and it's circulated throughout the system. And the brain is no exception. So that brain tissue is affected by the health of the gut microbiome, which goes back to basics. The most important medical decision that you make every single day is where? It's at the end of your fork. And we call those fork curls.
Yeah, I like that. And really, we need to understand that gut brain axis or gut brain connection. And this blows my mind. We send 5 times or more signals from the gut to the brain as opposed from the brain to the gut. The gut is sometimes referred to as the second brain. I'm not sure it's not the first brain, but the bottom line is there's so much interconnectivity within our body. And it all goes back to a good lifestyle. You mentioned walking, nutrition that can help us with depression. And I think that's outstanding. And sometimes just separating ourselves from a situation for a time is going to provide some great benefits too.
Yes, and of course we have to look at other things like sometimes we will self-medicate. We will have a glass of wine or a cocktail, or we're consuming alcoholic beverages thinking that that might actually be the help, but it's actually a depressant.
Oh my gosh, some of these things that we use as coping
Other
mechanisms, they're not healthy, and they can become negative. I mean, very negative, addicting behaviors that can bring other sort of scenarios of destruction. So, folks, when we talk about this idea of depression, it's a big deal. We're not minimizing it all, but we want you to know there's a way out. We want you to know there's hope. We want you to know there's pathways out of your own prison. We've talked about some solutions. We hope that you have some encouragement today in that. We hope that it gives you a little bit of hope. We hope your fire of, and then maybe the ignition switch of some sort of a victory out there can be had. So if we can help you, please reach out to us. We appreciate you.
And you can read our book, The Narrow Road.
There you go.
Managing chronic inflammation and autoimmune conditions. Just ahead.
Is there a connection? Stay tuned. We'll find out.
Our flagship product is called Kingdom Fuel. Tell us a little bit about Kingdom Fuel and why it's so good.
We saw people struggling with the idea and concept of it's too expensive to eat healthy. So we thought, okay, that's the problem. Let's find a solution. So we found a solution for $5 or under per meal. And that represented the birth of the idea of Kingdom Fuel. So Kingdom Fuel is organic pea protein. It's got greens and reds in it. So this is the phytonutrients from green plants and red plants that we all talk about. Eat your vegetables, right? It's also got vitamins and minerals in it. So it's got a complete complex of that. And it's got also soluble and insoluble fiber, which the difference between the two is profound. Soluble actually gathers moisture and makes you full, and the insoluble goes through the system and grabs things like damaged particles.
The body runs on nutrients. It doesn't run on medication. And Kingdom Fuel is a complete multivitamin and mineral.
Introducing OK Movie Stream, your ticket to a world of cinematic classics and wonders, right from the heart of Oklahoma and the surrounding areas.
The Neals are moving to Oklahoma.
Dive into a world of captivating stories and extraordinary talent, all on OK Movie Stream.
Oh yeah, I did. You see, I gave you a crazy look because I
choose the option that suits you best. Watch for free with commercials, binge watch your favorites for 3 days, or unlock ad-free streaming for just $10 a year. Join the OK Movie Stream community today and embark on a cinematic journey like never before.
I don't know about you, but I have to have that cup of coffee in the morning. And Kingdom Cup is mold-free, it is pesticide-free, and it is organic. It's got this flavor that is delicious. You don't even have to put cream or sweetener in it.
And it's Kingdom Cup with a K, right? So this is important. 50% of all coffee at least contains mold. And this is a key thing. That's in bean form, right? So you're going to be a little grinder. They're just a few bucks. Grind it up, put it in your maker, and make it. Why did we go with the bean form, the whole bean? Because ultimately the powder form is the one that gathers the most moisture. And that means the more potential mold development. So this is actually organic, mold-free, certified. It's got a little certificate with it. That's important because ultimately people drink coffee. It's cultural. And so we tried to meet the culture where it is and create a healthy alternative.
What causes inflammation in psoriasis?
That's an interesting question because we were watching TV the other night and it was interesting because we saw this commercial of people going through life. One was in the gym and one was out working out outside, and they were talking about psoriasis. They were talking about taking an immune suppressant for that, like a medication, right? And I got thinking to myself, well, is that the real solution to the problem? If psoriasis is tied to autoimmunity, what would be causing the autoimmunity? We just don't want to shut off the response, do we?
No, we don't. And we have to think about, well, really, what is psoriasis? Psoriasis is a dysregulation in the immune cells, which causes the buildup of skin cells on the surface of the skin, which causes these plaques or patches in certain areas that can become very painful. So in order to get ahead of that issue with psoriasis, we have to go to the root and help balance the immune system, regulate it. Instead of turn it off, we want to help balance it so that psoriasis can improve.
So you said something really interesting, dysregulation of the immune system. So if we have a dysregulation, we have to think about how do we bring back regulation, right? How to take something that's abnormal or non-functional or maybe dysfunctional and make it again functional. So a lot of times the treatment for those things are going to be like an immune suppressant. We've all heard them out there. Again, that just turns off the noise or the alarm bells of the immune system. So maybe you would get a less flare of the psoriasis, or maybe not get a flare. But did that stop the upstream cause of that process? No, it's like a Band-Aid while the dysregulation is still there. It just takes down a response. So dysregulation is, to fix that, we have to go back upstream, as you talked about, and talk about some things that might be contributing to that. And boy, number one is what we put in this thing right here, our mouth.
Yeah, and we call that border control.
Yeah.
You have to control what comes across the border into the system. If we're eating the standard American diet every day, that is inflammatory. And if psoriasis is an inflammatory condition, we can control a lot of systemic inflammation by what we put at the end of your fork. We call that fork curls. If it's fresh and raw, fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and good clean proteins, those things have vitamins and minerals and nutrients in it that actually help regulate the immune system instead of dysregulate it like the standard American diet does.
I was thinking about, you said something, border control. I think we are complaining these days about open borders. Well, the greatest open border we have that's causing the greatest catastrophe right now in America is not in the border of Texas and Mexico. No, it's the border of our mouth, right? We get it open and it allows all kinds of nonsense to come in. Inflammation, we should look at as like not just a bad thing. It's really a good thing, but when it becomes exceedingly elevated for a long period of time, chronic, if you will, it becomes a negative experience because inflammation is no more, no less than the body's signal that there's an emergency going on. But if you keep bringing in the emergencies in here, emergency, inflammation after inflammation causer, then you're going to have this process of chronic systemic elevated inflammation all the time. And, even psoriasis, we tend to think, okay, if we got the patches on the skin that are painful, itchy, swelling, red,
patches,
people
scales,
can see them.
The itches, the rashes.
That is not the end of the story. One autoimmune condition is all autoimmunity. One thing that we classify as immune dysregulation is all immune dysregulation. So we typically get hyper-focused on one thing, like in the skin department, when we should be talking about other departments as well in the body or compartments. And it's fascinating to me how we get so hyper-focused and think that's my problem when the problem is really bigger than that, isn't it?
Well, it is. So we have to treat the system as a whole. And if inflammation is at the root of the problem, and inflammation is the cause of all chronic sickness and disease, we've got to improve this thing called inflammation. Now, if I have a cut, a cough, a cold, a flu, a break, a bone, I want my inflammatory system to come to the rescue quick, fast, strong. But if I've got this autoimmune condition, I want my immune system to be a little smarter and be able to regulate it a little faster. So those are things like, of course, changing border security, what's coming into the oral cavity, into the system with fork curls, that good nutrition. We've talked about this before, and that's going to be weight control. For every pound a person is overweight, that is inflammatory. So in the fat cells, that is where toxicity is stored. That's where, abnormal chemicals are produced. Where the immune system can go awry. Excessive fat tissue can actually be like its own endocrine organ and dysregulate these autoimmune conditions.
So the question becomes, and people should understand this, is we are not anti-medication.
Absolutely
We are proper usage of medication. So we might want to use medication to turn down the fire that's a raging forest fire in Inferno, but we've got to get behind the thing and figure it out. Now, sometimes we would use a medication in that case, but sometimes, many times, if you go right to the control of your border and put in good food, the problem goes away, doesn't it?
It gets much, much better with good nutrition, optimization of body composition. And of course, we've got to do things like staying active, get blood oxygen and nutrients to the tissues. We've got to get enough sleep because sleep is a stressor, and if sleep is not accounted for and we get stressed out and under-rested, that's a degree of inflammation that can upregulate that immune system, just like taking in other toxins like alcohol or smoking or drugs.
So good lifestyle practices that focus on sleep, exercise, de-stressing, and eating well can, in the long term, prevent, even help reverse autoimmune conditions. Now, we've seen the measurables, like the antibodies that we measure in typical blood tests, go down with doing those things. People say that it can't be reversed, but we've seen that before with our own eyes, proven. Now, we're not saying it can be reversed every time. There's circumstances we don't know about. But for the most part, people need to think about how to avoid those things altogether.
And I just think about this body as a healing machine.
Yep.
It's a healing temple. It is designed to heal itself. So if we do right by the system with good nutrition, right physical exercise, right supplementation, yes, we might have to use a medication. If we're optimizing our stress levels, getting the right sleep, and even using the right hormone balance, that's a win when it comes to autoimmune conditions.
So here's the moral of the story. Honor the temple and it will honor you. Keep the temple regulated and it will not become dysregulated. We hope you've learned something from this segment.